My name is Brahmachari Jamal, and joining me is Brahmachari Vineet, and we're here for our weekly webinar. This is the topic of healing, affirmations for self-healing. Almost got that one mixed up with Masters topic. And these are affirmations by Swami Kriyananda. And so once a week we go through these. This week is very fun. The topic is enthusiasm. And so I am enthusiastic about sharing with you on this topic. But first, let's begin with a prayer. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar, our beloved Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, and saints of all religions, we humbly bow to you all. Great Masters, help us to be in tune. Help us to know your will. Help us to feel your peace in our hearts at all times. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Well, good evening. Welcome again, everyone. So we'll start. I'll simply read from, well, it's not the book this evening, it's my phone, but I'll read from the book about this topic, and we'll do the affirmation together. So this is enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is the spirit of joy channeled through the power of the will. If we want to know joy, we must live always in the full expectation of it. Not even earthly happiness can come to those who demand it glumly or who work for it with their eyes to the ground. To achieve happiness, one must work with happiness. To achieve divine joy, one must be keenly enthusiastic in everything one does. Never presume, never brush aside that subtle feeling of doubt which attends false emotional enthusiasm. Try always to let God's joy express itself through you. Thus, your enthusiasm will grow, eventually, to become His joy. And let's do the affirmation together. First, in a loud voice. In everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. And now in a normal voice. In everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. In a whisper, in everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. Now mentally, in everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. And one more time mentally, taking it deep into the superconscious. In everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. And now you can mentally repeat this prayer along with me. O perfect bliss, guide me that I express thee through my every feeling. May my enthusiasm be a channel for thy joy. And now I'll hand it over to Vineet.
Thank you, Jamal. Welcome, everyone, to today's webinar. This topic of enthusiasm is just so amazing and so beautiful. Uh, the most wonderful thing I liked about this was the affirmation is very short, so I can actually memorize it and keep repeating it to myself over and over again. And just in everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. It's as simple as that. And I don't know if I was able to memorize an affirmation before like this. And especially during these times, I've been repeating this affirmation a lot, especially today. is just whenever there is something outwardly which I'm trying to resist, wherever my energy level is trying to go down, whenever just my mind is confused, it is churning thoughts which are sometimes not positive. It's just in everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. And what struck me the most in this reading, which Swamiji writes for us, is this line: try always to let God's joy express itself through you. And when I read this line, a story struck to my mind of a friend of mine who lives in America. And I was just listening to his satsang this morning or yesterday, I don't know. Especially with the situation of this virus, almost everyone is online. And it's amazing to be able to see your friends from Mumbai, from Pune, from America, from Gurgaon, from all over the world to be giving satsangs and just being there online. So, anyways, this story of my friend is that he was an actor and he was doing acting for various roles. Like an actor sometimes plays good roles, and sometimes he has to play roles which are not so good, interestingly. So, what had happened was basically in the beginning, it was all right for him to be able to do all kinds of roles. But then, as he was going deeper and deeper on on the spiritual path, and his discipleship to master was becoming stronger and stronger, and he was just finding it so difficult to transition to be meditating first in the morning and then jump out of the meditation and go out and do the role of a villain where he is nasty and unkind and just not appropriate in from a spiritual point of view. And he found it difficult to be able to balance this, and I think he even mentioned that some of his friends in the world told him, you're probably more for the kind roles, and these kind of roles probably you can let it be. So anyways, with this predicament, he was just thinking, what can I do? He was an actor, he has to play a role which has been given to him. And he had this opportunity finally when he was in a room with Swami Kriyananda ji. And Swamiji asked, are there any questions? And different people asked different questions. And then finally, there was a turn for him to ask his question. And he shared this, um, I can't say problem, but he shared the situation in his life. And he said, Swamiji, what should I do? And this is what Swamiji told him, that whatever role you're playing, let God's joy flow through you, let the divine joy flow through you, and the audience will be blessed by it. Now, isn't that interesting? We may sometimes feel that, oh, here I am, who wants deeply to find God and wants to meditate more, but here I am having to do this or that. Sometimes I have to do this job, sometimes I have to do this chores in my household. And these days, all of us being locked at home, we have to do dishes, we have to do floor cleaning, we have to clean our rooms, we don't have domestic help. But in everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. And then similarly, let God's joy flow through you, let God's divine joy flow through you, and we'll find that okay, everything is working perfectly fine. And another interesting thing which Swamiji shares over here is, if we want to if we want to know joy, we must live always in the full expression of it. Not even earthly happiness can come to those who demand it glumly. And you might know, or we can just see it in the body posture of someone who's happy or who's enthusiastic or not, or by just the expression in their eyes, whether they are really enthusiastic or are they looking downwards. We won't be joyful if we are just looking downwards towards life. And now, especially in this situation, it can seem like, oh no, I'm not able to meet my friends physically, I'm not able to do the things I used to do. But then here is a great opportunity finally, and it can even be for many people as it is. I'm talking to my friends and family that they're actually more busier because they are working from home and they're also having to do household chores. But then what an opportunity. Some of you might have heard the story which Swami Kriyananda ji used to say about Benvenuto Cellini, an Italian saint, I might say. And basically, he used to do artwork for the Pope. And finally, at one point, he said, no, I am not going to do until I'm not going to do the next assignment, the next project until you pay me. And the Pope got furious over him, and then just as a punishment, which we can't imagine in these days, but in those days it was quite possible. He was just thrown into the dungeon, and there was basically no light. It was absolute darkness. There was light for 1 hour of the day, and during this 1 hour, he would basically be reading the Bible. And for the rest of the 23 hours, he would be trying to pray, and he would be praying because he couldn't read the Bible or do anything else. His mattress was absolutely damp. Well, if you have no sunlight, it's going to be damp. There were rats all around the place. All he got for his food was bread and water, and I was just complaining about having just dal and rice a few days back, but here he was just having bread and water, nothing else. And it was just, you can imagine, oh my god, he must have been so sad and so disgusted with what life had given him. But then when the Pope finally let him out, I don't know how long it was, but I'm sure it was pretty long. And he told, if you want to know what true joy is, then arrange yourself to be thrown in a dark dungeon with no company other than that of rats, with just 1 hour of light, and then the rest of the time you spend on your damp mattress. And you might imagine, wait a second. And then Swamiji writes in one of his books about this saint, and he says Benvenuto Cellini later on wrote when he came out, he said, the joy I experienced in that dungeon, Swamiji writes, Cellini wrote later, I have never in my life known before or since. Isn't that interesting? We can take this lockdown as something where we are just the most joyful in our lives, no matter we are finding hardships. And I'm sure none of us are in a dark dungeon with rats all around and with no food. I'm sure we are well to do, at least from that point of view. The only trouble is that excuse me, we are not able to step outside our house, and that's fine. And I was just joking to one of my brothers, and we were having a good laugh that when you can't go outdoor, why not go indoor and go inward? So that's something which we can do. And even if it is doing household work, why not feel the joy of God? If Swamiji said you can play the role of a villain, feeling the joy of God, and your audience will be blessed by it, then, if we are doing our household things or we are spending time with our family, can it not be a great opportunity? And in everything I do, I don't know why I'm repeating this so many times, but maybe it needs to go deeply in my subconsciousness, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. That the next time a resistance comes, or the next time we find something faced by a negative emotion or feeling, well, we must remember this, that thoughts are universally and not individually rooted, and especially these times, it can be very easy to get into a spiral of negative thoughts. Myself found, I don't know, a few days ago, I got up from meditation, and suddenly there was this swirl of negative thoughts, and usually these negative thoughts would have taken me over, but thankfully I had come out of meditation and I could feel, wait a second, this is not a part of my consciousness. And I could really feel that there was a conscious force trying to drag me down and pull me down. And so, yes, the thoughts of people around us, the anxiety of the world around us can affect us. But if we raise our consciousness, if we raise our enthusiasm, then why not? We'll be able to be positive even in the most difficult situations. There's a very funny story. I was just helping with a project a couple of weeks ago, and was extremely enthusiastic. And just how enthusiasm can help us in our day-to-day lives, how it can attract the right situation, the right kind of energy in our lives. So basically, I was just doing this project, and I was just extremely enthusiastic. Yes, we are going to make this happen. And interestingly, once I was just there was so much energy churning that I just had this thought, oh, I want to talk to this person because it will help me in the next step of this project. And that very moment, this friend of mine called me, and I said hello, and the other friend said hello, and the person replied, wait a second, did I call you? I said, yeah, you called me. And oh, okay, I wasn't intending to call you. I said, well, it's okay, I had this point to discuss with you. Why not we talk about it, and it'll help me. And so this call got over. And I wouldn't have thought about it much when a couple of hours later I had to talk to another friend of mine, and I thought about this other friend of mine. And again, I got a call from this other friend, and this friend said, "Hi." I said, "Hi." And the reply was the same. "Did I call you?" I said, "Yeah, you called me." And this friend was like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, you called me. I didn't call you." And they checked and was like, "Yeah, yeah, I called you." And I was like, "Oh, this is so amazing." When we are enthusiastic about something, we attract the right kind of magnetism. And trust me, this has happened only once in my life, and it was probably Divine Mother having fun. I claim to have no powers, but our enthusiasm is our power, truly. And when we can raise our energy, we can be enthusiastic about our life, then yes, we can do things which we wouldn't have imagined about. And Benvenuto Cellini was just an example of many, many people who were thrown into concentration camps but just came out extremely positive. And how? Well, they raised their energy. And I can't imagine them just, just tearing the time out. When will I be out? When will I be out? They might have rather been in their own world, in their own enthusiasm. It takes that kind of enthusiasm to be able to come out of that glumness, especially if you find yourself in these times. Now, with that, I think I have a few more minutes, maybe. No, I'll pass it on to Jamal, and if there's time, then I'll be happy to share more. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Vineet. That was great. Um, I'd like to start with a teaching, you could say, or a story that Swamiji would talk about that I feel is relevant to enthusiasm. And he would say, imagine a small child. Let's just take a boy, makes it easy to visualize. If we say that, let's take a small boy, maybe 7 years old, and he really, really wants to go to the zoo. He's just so excited to go to the zoo. So maybe you, the parents, say, okay, finally, here's the big day. We get to go to the zoo. And you get there early whenever it opens, I don't know, maybe 9 a.m. And the little boy's just so excited to go see the tigers. And wow, look at the tigers. And next, can't we go see the polar bears? And he's ready to race off and go see the elephants. And on that goes until maybe around lunchtime, he's getting a little hungry and a little less enthusiastic. And maybe then you go see some monkeys and some snakes, and maybe by 3 o'clock, the little he just wants a nap. He no longer cares about the animals in the zoo. Now, at 3 o'clock, is the giraffe, is it really less interesting than the tigers and the lions and whatever? No. Had the little boy seen the giraffe first, he would have been all excited. Wow, look at that. Here's the thing, that the little boy lost the energy to enjoy these things with. And the point here is that our enthusiasm has to be an inner enthusiasm. It has to be with God. It has to be that it's God's joy that's being reflected through us, and that even when we're seeing something through the five senses, that we realize that that's striking something deeper within us, that it's not actually those things out there that are making us happy and sad. And this becomes so important when we meditate in these turbulent times, because it can be very difficult to meditate during these times. There's lots of just intense thought forms just cruising around the planet, as Vineet was talking about. There's also a very strong light and power, grace of God that's here. But here's what I was getting at, that first, when we recognize that these things outside of ourselves, that they're not actually making us happy or sad, it's just our reaction to it, and it's just a flow of energy within ourselves, then we can go deeper and we can understand that even these thoughts that are swirling around, they're not actually yours. So if crazy thoughts are going on, yeah, they're going around the world right now. They're not yours. You're a radio tuner, and you can simply tune the bad ones out. One of Master's disciples said, the first time that negative thought comes in, it's not your fault. Now, if you turn it around, well, okay, then you decided you wanted to play with that thought. But if you just let it pass by, just like turning the knob on the old radios and say, that's not the station that I'm looking for, and mentally bring yourself back to whatever it is, your mantra in meditation or your new affirmation that you get to have this week, whatever the case may be, then you can inwardly stay in tune, you can inwardly stay enthusiastic, you can inwardly stay joyful. The other point about that story of the little boy is that I've seen a lot of people on the spiritual path that they're enthusiastic and it's good. I'd rather see that than grumpy. But that somewhere there always needs to be that inner centeredness, that it doesn't need to be from the emotions. If it's from the emotions, our energy is going to go out towards those objects that we think are making us happy. And perhaps by 3 p.m., maybe you're a little stronger, maybe 4 or 5, our energy will be down and we'll wonder what happened. Where did I lose my joy? And why don't I feel so wonderful about this thing that I thought was so wonderful? So all of this comes to us learning to watch our energy, learning to stay centered. And I just want to remind everyone, this world is a school, and none of us are perfect. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, or we'd be an avatar sent for a very special mission. But we're not perfect, and we just have to keep trying to do our best in these trying times. But this is a wonderful, wonderful time for spiritual growth. That I'm learning that there's little things inside of me that I had no idea that were there. And I didn't know that I was going to have to deal with them and work on them and get myself right again. But I'm just looking at this as it's okay. The other day I opened up Autobiography of a Yogi and read that Sri Yukteswar lost control of his emotions when Lahiri Mahashaya told him that his friend wasn't going to die, and his friend died. And the story made me feel good that Sri Yukteswar lost control of his emotions, because if a great avatar, of course he was a boy, but even then, if a great avatar is going to lose it a little bit, we too, if we lose it a little bit, we all have space to grow. But the thing is to get control of ourselves right away and not let our emotions go wild during these times. At the end of the day, there's only one person who can change ourselves, and that's ourselves. And we can get it back together quickly, right again. We can acknowledge we've made mistakes and that we can go on for the better. Another story, my gosh, how time flies. Another story that I want to hopefully briefly tell is, and I don't know the exact details of this, but Nayaswami Devi Ji, she tells this one that a group of people was called to Swamiji's house to paint the inside of the house. I believe, I don't know the details, inside, outside. I believe it must have been inside in the story. Don't know what time they started, but they were painting. I believe they had lunch. They kept painting. But they were doing it with so much enthusiasm that Swamiji at some point said, okay, I think that's enough for today. And they looked at their watches or the clock or whatever, and I believe it was 2 a.m. in the morning. Now, the point of this story is that if we do things with joy, time, it just goes away. And that whatever the duty is, it doesn't have to be difficult. And another thing that I think is happening to many people right now, and I am nobody to make predictions, but I believe that it's going to happen even more as time goes on, that we're going to be asked to do all kinds of things we've never done before, or things that we don't like to do, but now we have to do them. And so we may as well enjoy it. We may as well learn to do it with joy. There's a story that Swamiji tells, I think it's in the New Path, can't be sure about that, but there was one young monk who just hated watering the sides of the hills at Mount Washington. I think it was Mount Washington. And every day when they give out the assignments, he'd just feel like, oh God, I hope this doesn't come to me again. It was muddy and slippery and the hose getting himself all dirty and everything. And then one day that monk just decided to change his attitude and just say, if I have to water these hillsides every day for the rest of my life, I'm just going to enjoy it, going to do it with enthusiasm and willpower and all good, master. And that little prayer, that little bit of acceptance was the last time that he ever was assigned that duty again in this incarnation. Ananda is a fascinating place. If you come and live in Ananda, that you end up getting all kinds of jobs that you didn't even know existed. And we just work off little bits of karma here to where, okay, if that's my duty, all right. If it's not my duty, all right. And with that, all right, my time is over. I have to hand it back to Vineet, and he'll guide us through the reading again if he wants, and through the affirmation.
Thank you, Jamal. That was great. So I'll do the reading again. We'll be doing the affirmation more number of times. So we'll be doing 3 times in a loud voice, 3 times in a normal voice, 3 times whispering, 3 times taking it to the subconscious mind, and then 3 times mentally taking it to the superconscious mind. And when you're doing your own private, when you're doing it on your own with your own self, you can do it as many times as you want. Right now, just for the sake of having a format, we are doing it so you can do it 10 times, 15 times, as many times as you want until it's deeply ingrained within you and you're able to really cherish those attitudes each week, which Swamiji shares about. So, the reading on enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is the spirit of joy channeled through the power of the will. If we want to know joy, we must live always in the full expectation of it. Not even earthly happiness can come to those who demand it glumly, or who work for it with their eyes to the ground. To achieve happiness, one must work with happiness. To achieve divine joy, one must be keenly enthusiastic in everything one does. Never presume, never brush aside that subtle feeling of doubt which attends false, emotional enthusiasm. Try always to let God's joy express itself through you. Thus, your enthusiasm will grow eventually to become His joy. Let's affirm together, first out loud. In everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. In everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. In everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. Now, speaking in a normal voice, in everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. In everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. In everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. Now, in a whisper, in everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. In everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. In everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. Now, mentally taking it deep into your subconscious mind, in everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. Keep your mind focused, not let it wander. In everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. In everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. Now, taking it to the subconscious mind at the point between the eyebrows, let's affirm mentally again. In everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. In everything I do, My enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. In everything I do, my enthusiasm soars to embrace infinity. Let's pray together mentally. O perfect bliss, guide me that I express Thee through my every feeling. May my enthusiasm be a channel for Thy joy. Thank you, friends, for joining us. This was wonderful and enthusiastic. We look forward to connecting you next week. But until then, be enthusiastic and practice the affirmation on enthusiasm. Joy to you.